Everyone, welcome to our Monday live stream. The wind actually just picked up, so I'm hoping that it does okay and my umbrella that's right overhead doesn't blow over or I don't blow over, so hopefully we'll be okay. But welcome to our Monday live stream. So glad you guys are here, and of course all the dogs in the neighborhood just started barking too. But so glad you guys are here. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. It is heating up here in California. We are actually supposed to have 80-degree weather by the weekend. And my parents are actually coming in from Colorado tomorrow. So they are really looking forward to getting out of the Colorado cold and here into the California warmth. So hopefully you guys are doing well, had a great weekend, are able to get out in the garden and get something planted. If it's still cold where you live, I always highly encourage you to grow something indoors. A little container of lettuce like this one right here, or a little container of microgreens, or some herbs do wonders to lift your spirits during the winter time when you can't get outside. And Nisha, yeah, the wind just picked up. Usually if it's windy, I set up inside, but I decided to go for it. And of course, the wind just picked up right when I came out here, and I didn't want to reset everything up inside. So here we are. We'll see how it goes. I think we'll be okay for the next half hour or so. But we had an unbelievable weekend, and I'll tell you guys about that in just a moment. But I want to say hello to everyone here. Emmy, Colorado native. Oh my goodness, I grew up in Colorado in the Lakewood area, so I love it out there. Now that I lived in California though for so long, I don't like going out there in the wintertime anymore. Steve, cold in England? I think that's cool if you're watching from England. Jed picked leeks tonight for soup. Oh my goodness, that leek soup is absolutely amazing. Rainby, hi, how are you? Pretty Alice Moon from Texas, we've missed you. I'm so glad that you're here. I hope it's warm down there in Texas. Moon Shadow, hello, welcome. Darlene from Eastern Oregon. Rita, I know she's down in San Diego. Beautiful weather down there. Probably, I think she said in the 70s. So I'm sure, Rita, you're getting outside, getting your hands in the soil. Jackie, hi, so good to see you. Sadar from Norway. People here from all over the world. Jasmine, when do I start planting inside for spring? We can cover that in just a moment, Jasmine. Whoops, I messed up the little feed here. Okay, Steffi from Chicago, still cold, brr. Karen in Central California. Vernice, hello. Irene from Woodland Hills, so wonderful to see you guys. We had an absolutely amazing weekend. Saturday, I actually had the opportunity to do 2 radio interviews, and I put a link in the video description in case you guys want to listen to it. It was so much fun. A radio host named Ron Wilson, he has a syndicated radio show, but he broadcasts in Ohio. And I actually had to get up at 5 a.m. to do the first one with him, which is the one I put the link for. So head over to listen. We talked about starting simple, expanding later, how to get your garden started from seed, and he was just a ball, a lot of fun. He has a great radio show, so I want to encourage you guys to listen to that. You can actually call into his show live, I believe from all over the US, so it'd be really fun for you guys to do that. Christy put a link in the chat, and I believe his website, I should put that in the video description as well, is theronwilsonshow.com, I believe, but look him up. He's a great host, and it was so much fun to do those radio shows. So check out the link there in the video description. I also put a link for a podcast I did about a month ago with the beginner's gardener. Her name is Jill. She's on Instagram, but she has a wonderful, wonderful podcast full of great garden information. And she actually interviewed me about a month or so ago, right before my book came out. We talked about the book, we talked about gardening. It was just a wonderful chat. And I know that you will love her podcast, not just the one I am on, but she has tons of great garden information. So since we're all about sharing resources here on the live stream, I wanted to share those 2 in specific with you, and then encourage you to watch their other shows as well, not just the ones I'm on. Although, of course, I would love you to watch those also. And then yesterday, we had a fabulous event at Topanga Nursery, which is about 15 minutes from our house. It was so much fun. It was a packed house. I think we had over 60 people there. I did a garden workshop on starting simple, showed people how to plant a simple salad in a container. It was so much fun. We actually planted something exactly like this. This is a 5-gallon a Smart Pots container. And it was so much fun. We did a book signing. Topanga Nursery is a wonderful place. If you live local here to Southern California, you've got to get over there, you guys. They have a bee observation area. I'm hoping to take a bee class over there in the next month or two. And it is just an adorable, quaint, personal touch. The owners are just beautiful people, and it is just an adorable place. I'm in love with it. I bought some honey, a couple different kinds of honey in one of those little honey pots with the little honey twirlers or whatever they're called, because my honey's been all over my kitchen cabinet dripping down the side. So I'm super excited to buy local honey. I know some of you were there and it was so much fun. So we just had an absolute ball. So check out on my stories. I reposted a bunch of other people. We took photos and all that kind of thing. So I reposted all those. So make sure you go over and check those out on my Instagram. So today we are talking about some questions and answers that I had over the last couple videos on composting. We're also doing questions on feeling overwhelmed in the garden. I'll be answering some grow light questions, and I want to hear your questions on those topics as well. So I'll answer one question, then I'll come into the chat and answer your questions here live. And I want to encourage you guys to ask a friend to garden with you. It is just such a ball to interact and communicate with other gardeners, to get tips as we do here on the live stream. Just so much energy when you're gardening with a friend. So grab yourself a friend, help them plant something, and then invite them to join us here on our live streams on Monday, because we just have so much fun here. Okay, so let's talk about okay, Rita, I hear you lost it. Hopefully the wind is not affecting the signal here, but we'll do our best to just keep on rolling right through, right? So let's talk about, I wanted to do a viewer of the week this week. I've been forgetting to do that the past few weeks. I absolutely loved this comment this week. It was so inspiring. And sometimes this person is on the live stream, so I don't know if they are today or not, but this comment was from Shining Diamond Stables. I forget which video it was on, but maybe the composting video or the harvest citrus video we did last week. Shining Diamond Stables says, mistakes I've made so far in gardening. And I think that we can all relate to this. So let me know here in the chat if you can relate. Number one, overwatering. And my hand is way up high with that. That is always my tendency, is to overwater. Number two, starting too early to plant. Same here. Not putting tags in. I am notorious for forgetting the tags. Number four, not having a grow light. And I have two big ones now, Shining Diamond Stable says. Pruning too much. Number six, not knowing what to plant when it's too late. And Shining Diamond Stables says, thanks, Kim, for helping me fix all these mistakes and experimenting along the way. You've helped me so much, and I can't wait to see the summer garden. So I can totally relate, and I loved what Shining Diamond Stables said, because we have all made mistakes. Every single one of us has, including myself. But the great thing is they're not failures. They're just learning experiences. Sorry about that. And the great thing is that we learn from our mistakes, what works, what doesn't work. And then we don't give up. We just keep on trying and going. And that's really the best way to learn, is just to dig right in and do it. So if we let our lack of knowledge or lack of skills or lack of confidence or our mistakes stop us, we would never grow anything, right? So I just want to encourage you guys, no matter how many mistakes you've made, even if you feel like a failure in gardening, you're not. I want to encourage you to get right in there, to get started, to plant something. And I'm so proud of Shining Diamond Stables for admitting and being vulnerable to admit their mistake, because sometimes it's a little bit scary to say that we messed something up. But I'm the first one to say that I mess stuff up all the time, and I'm learning and growing from all of you guys each and every day. So thank you so much, Shining Diamond Stable. That's a big word to say there, but I don't know if it's a man or a woman. So Shining Diamond Stables, thank you so much, and congratulations for being Viewer of the Week. And please leave me a comment on YouTube, on Instagram, or on Facebook, and let me know how you're inspired to grow in the garden. And then you might just get a shout out here and be Viewer of the Week next week as well. Okay, so let's dig right in here. And first of all, the first question I got, we did upload a video last night, again, late on a Sunday night after a busy weekend. We finally got it done about 9 o'clock last night. And it was on turning the compost pile. I had a ton of questions on how to turn the Smart Pots compost sack. It's a tall, about a 3-foot tall sack that you fill with compost. So if you missed the compost videos, we've done 3 so far. Go back and watch them. It's a great way to compost, keeps everything contained. And I had a lot of questions. How in the world do you turn that pile without taking everything out? So I showed you how to do that in a couple of different ways. We aerated it with a stick, which doesn't completely turn it, but it's definitely better than nothing. And I also got in there with a pitchfork, which I absolutely love because it helps it break down faster. It was so much fun to see the steam coming out, and it really is a great workout. So I even fit a workout in yesterday as well. So Mike, the question was from CFDD. Wouldn't it be easier if you had 2 sacks and then you just transfer the compost from one sack to the other? That way you'll guarantee that your compost is 100% upside down. And then another suggestion, and I loved it, was if you had a bucket to temporarily empty some top compost into it, you could get to the bottom to turn better and then just refill it all. So I loved, these weren't really questions, but they were comments, and I love that because as you guys well know, there are so many different ways to garden. And these are great suggestions. I was doing what I had on hand, which was a pitchfork. I actually do have another compost sack, but to me that was just a little bit too much work to transfer it over to another compost sack. So that was what I had. I dug in with a pitchfork and I loved it. But by all means, experiment. Try what works for you. There's not one way to garden. So don't be afraid to just jump in there and see what you like to do. It's going to be different for everyone depending on your physical abilities. Not everyone can get in there and dig out the compost or turn it with a pitchfork. Depending on where you live, maybe it's really cold where you live. You don't want to take the time to get out there and turn it. You just want to poke your pile with a stick and aerate it a little bit. So whatever it is that you're doing, I want to encourage you to just get out there and get started and try something. And also keep bringing the suggestions on. I really appreciate all the suggestions because again, we all learn from each other. So enough of hearing me talk. I want to jump into the chat and see what kind of questions you guys have. And I would love to hear any questions you have specifically about compost, about turning compost, but I'll try and answer whatever questions I have, or whatever questions I can in the chat today, whatever we have time for. Okay, question from Game Nerd Mom. Hello, and I know you were asking a lot of questions on the chat before the live stream started. It's a great community here to be able to do that. So the question is, I am increasing my garden space ×3 this year. Wow, congratulations. Any tips on things I should not forget to factor in while designing? Or any tips for people moving from a small space to a larger one? That is super exciting that you're able to expand your garden space. How much fun is that? I guess the main advice I could give is just watch out how much you expand, that you don't bite off more than you can chew. You're coming from a small space and it's super exciting to have a larger space, but maybe just take it in small increments for this first year and then see how things do. If you're moving to a new location, the soil might be different there. The sunlight might be different there. There could be a lot of different factors. So I would just recommend expanding little by little. You could definitely, if you really love growing tomatoes, expand to 2 or 3 new tomato varieties. Do what's already worked for you in your small space, and then add a couple more varieties on top of that. So don't feel that pressure that you have to get your entire new space planted up at first. Again, my garden motto is always start simple, expand later. So I would highly recommend that even in a large space. Just be careful that you don't get overwhelmed. But how exciting that you have more room to grow vegetables. That's absolutely wonderful. Okay, you're in Ohio. Wonderful. So you'll be starting your garden you can start seeds indoors about 6 to 8 weeks or so before your last frost date of the season. So you can check on Farmer's Almanac and find out when that is for your area. Okay, from Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie. How are you today? Question, do you start scallop squash indoors? Yes, you absolutely can. You can start your seeds indoors. Again, like I just mentioned, 6 to 8 weeks. With squash, I would start them 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. of the season. I just started some squash. I believe it was last weekend. I think the zucchini, I don't think I got the scallop squash planted because I want to get them outside as soon as the nighttime temperatures warm up. So you definitely don't want to start squash too early though. I'd say about 4 weeks before your last frost date, because if they get root bound in the small little peat pellets or small little containers, then they tend to get stunted and they grow super fast indoors under grow lights. So just watch that. But the good thing with squash is it grows fast, so you can always plant more if you know something doesn't make it, and you can always plant the seeds outside also, as well as getting transplants going inside. Okay, let's see here. Emmy, hello. It's been very interesting in composting on a smaller scale. Newbie gardener here. Can I add compost to the garden after transplanting seedlings, and how long does it take for compost to be ready? Emmy, great question. Hopefully you're able to watch my small space composting video where we composted in a small Calikim 5-gallon smart pots. You can compost in a small space, and I believe I linked up to that in the video description. And I'm trying to remember, I think that compost took about maybe 6 weeks or so to break down, 6 to maybe 8 weeks. And there were a couple keys to getting it to break down faster, because in a small compost little sack here, you won't get hot compost. So the key is to really get your materials when you add them to your pile in very small pieces. I actually put mine in the blender. So you'll know it's ready when you don't see recognizable pieces of food scraps or garden waste or whatever you happen to have in your compost, when you don't see big chunks of those types of items in your compost anymore. Oh, I actually have some my little compost pile, my 5-gallon right here, so I can actually show you. I forgot I had this right here. So here is some finished compost. So you can see it looks like soil. It smells like soil. There's still some little things in there like some eggshells, some leaves, that kind of thing. But this is finished compost. It's absolutely beautiful soil for your garden. And you can go ahead and add this around the base of your plants and water it in to really help fertilize your plants. So absolutely amazing. And go back and watch a couple of my compost videos because I do show this. Whoa, I almost dropped it. Don't want to waste my good compost. And we will also be monitoring our compost sack that we filmed the past 3 compost videos and bringing you the finished version when it's complete, and also show you how to add it to your garden beds. But that'll probably take another few weeks at least for that to be ready. But stay tuned, we'll come back and do that. Okay, let me move on to the next question and then we'll jump back into the chat. The next question was, another compost question. What is the difference between hot compost and cold compost? And with so much steam, if you guys saw that beautiful steam on the video yesterday, that was a lot of fun. With so much steam, won't the microbes die? Because we usually cook or boil our food to kill off the microorganisms, right? Okay, great question. I love this question. And a couple different parts to this question. First of all, hot compost is where you build a large pile, as I showed in the last few videos. The microbes at the 130 to 140 degrees, it helps them reproduce quicker. So there's some things you can do to make your compost pile hot. Get those microbes reproducing. The microbes are the teeny tiny organisms that chew on all that organic matter in your compost pile and really help break it down. So hot compost breaks down faster because there's a higher amount of microbial activity. Cold compost, there are still microbes in it breaking down the compost, but it takes much longer because it's not as hot, so the microbes aren't reproducing as quickly. So you can still get compost that way. It's still a great way to compost, but it will definitely take you months as opposed to weeks. So when we cook our food, we're basically cooking it to kill off the bacteria. Maybe there's some microbes that are bad microbes, but there's definitely, when we're cooking our food, it's different than cooking a compost pile because we are killing off bad bacteria or just the general bacteria that is in our food. So a completely different process, but a great question. I absolutely love how you're thinking and asking questions, and hopefully you're able to get some hot compost going so that you have some compost in time for your spring garden. Okay, heading back to the chat now. And let's see what's going on. Mr. Go Blue, hi Kim, do you use citrus peels in your hot compost? Yes, I do. A lot of people don't like to use citrus in their compost because of the high acid content. There's some people say yes, use it. Some people say no, don't. So it's really just a personal preference. I've always used citrus and I've never had any big issues with it. So you know what? Give it a try. See what you like. See what works for you. It's really one of those things that is kind of a personal preference. Okay, L Beacon 1, do you still have your worm bins? No, I do not. I found that worm bins are great. They're a ton of fun, but they're also a lot of work to maintain. And for me, with my large garden, I just didn't get enough worm castings to really supply my garden. Hi, Mac. Mac's coming in to say hi. Look at him. He never does this. Hey, Mac, how you doing, buddy? Guess he wanted to see you guys. Whoops, he's knocking over the microphone. I think, Mac, you're going to have to scooch over. So it just wasn't effective for me to have worm bins for the amount of worm castings that I need. It was a great project to do with my son when he was younger, but now I do use the Vermistera worm castings, which supply me with, you know, I have plenty to use for my garden. But if you're going for a worm bin, absolutely go for it. I think it's a great project to do. It's just not something right now that I have time to keep up and maintain, but a wonderful project to do. Okay. Let's see here. Let me actually jump into the next question because I want to make sure I hit all the questions today. I had a wonderful comment from a viewer named Melisma T. And I want to see if anyone else has been feeling this way. It's regarding garden overwhelm. And she commented on the Spring Garden Series video that we posted actually almost a year ago on starting seeds indoors. 6 mistakes to avoid. It's a very popular video. A lot of you started the spring garden with me last year, and it really just takes you through starting your spring garden from seed and some really easy ways. So this person mentioned this is just way too much information for a novice, to the point where it is overwhelming and discouraging. I'm sure it's all great advice, but I'm not sure I even want to try now. And the first thing I want to say is we have all been there. We've all been discouraged. We've all been overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed taking care of my garden all of the time. And the biggest thing I can say to you, Melisma, and hopefully you're hearing this and I need to go back and answer your comments. I did not have a chance to answer comments over the weekend. But I want to say to you, just start simple. Don't feel like you have to do everything. And if you're out there and you're feeling that same way where you're feeling overwhelmed, I want to encourage you, my garden motto, which a lot of you already have my book and have read my garden motto. And let me find that chapter where that is. My garden motto is start simple and expand later. But just get started. I talked about this yesterday. And expand later. Don't feel like you have to plant a whole farm full of vegetables. Don't feel like you have to have a ton of space or a ton of time. Just get started. And I like to encourage people, start with just one vegetable. And of course, you guys know my favorite to start with is lettuce. Start with a small little container of lettuce, like this one here, on your kitchen windowsill, out on your patio. Lettuce is so easy to germinate, just needs a couple hours of sunlight a day. And once you taste your very first salad, isn't this beautiful, you guys? I just absolutely love the colors in here. We've got different colors, different textures, and it just tastes so delicious. Once you taste your very first garden harvest, you'll be hooked. You're gonna learn some skills, you're gonna get some confidence, and then other vegetables won't be as intimidating. And then you'll want to expand just a little bit at a time each time you plant. So don't feel like you have to do everything in any of the videos that we present. We do try and present it simple. If you're overwhelmed, just pick one thing that you can do and then get that one down and then move on to one more thing. So I love to do that out in the garden. Just focus my energies on one garden bed at a time, rather than walking outside and feeling like I have to do my entire garden in one day. So let me hear from you guys in the chat what you like to do to help yourself overcome garden overwhelm. I know it's something that we all deal with because we like to grow as many vegetables as we can, but growing one thing is better than growing nothing. So don't let yourself get paralyzed by fear. By fear or by overwhelm. Okay, guys, what are you dealing with here as far as garden overwhelm? Or what questions do you have about garden overwhelm, or maybe getting things done in the garden? Okay, Connie, hello, has a question about compost. Given the ongoing rain in Oregon, when should I put my compost into, whoops, your comment disappeared, into my new raised beds? I'm afraid the rain will wash away all my black gold. Thanks to you, I have 3 large piles of compost. Connie, congratulations, that's so exciting. You know what, depending on when you're gonna plant, I do like to add in, I like to put compost in over the winter time, but we do have a different climate here. We don't have as much rain. I would put it in, you could put it in a week or 2 before you plant. And that way it has time to kind of settle down into the soil there. And then, you know, your soil will hang on to the nutrients. And then once you get your plants in, you're gonna have, your soil will be enriched and amended, and you will be ready to go. It's kind of like avoiding garden overwhelm too, because you can do things little by little. First, you can add your compost to your garden beds, and then the next week you can add your plants. So if you're still planning on getting a lot of rain, it's going to be a little while before you plant. You could definitely wait on that. If you do have any shredded leaves laying around, I'd recommend covering your garden beds with those, because with the moisture that you're getting, that'll help break down, not only will it help mulch your garden beds, it'll help keep them from getting too soaked, and then it'll help break down, bring the worms in until it's time for you to plant. So hopefully that'll help you out there. Okay, hi Laura Lamontaro. I'm overwhelmed by the fact that I want to start my seeds, but it's too early. Okay, yeah, that's always hard when you're getting super excited about the spring coming up, but it's just a little bit too early to get those seeds started. So what you might want to do in the meantime, Laura, is grow something indoors that you can grow, like lettuce, like microgreens. Herbs are a great thing to grow indoors. And I did bring this little grow light out here to show you guys, because this is my favorite simple little grow light setup. Let me raise up my my camera there so you can see it. It's just a little clamp light, and I put a link to the grow light video and also all the links to my grow light, my 3 favorite grow light setups in the video description, so you guys can get going with that on your seed starting or on your indoor garden that you're growing over the winter time. This is so simple. It literally costs $10 or $15. I also have all the instructions for grow lights in my book. You can grab your copy of that on my website if I don't blow away. Yeah, definitely get something going inside to scratch that garden itch, because we're all getting anxious to get our garden started, aren't we? Okay, I've got one more question that I'd like to read today. And it's regarding grow lights, which is one reason why I brought my grow light out here with me. And this is from MSaved92. And I think maybe it was on the, I don't remember what video it was on, but question about grow lights. We have 2 Sunblaster 65 Kelvin LED 3-foot tube bulbs. I hear these are stronger than the regular T5 fluorescents. Do they also have to be 2 inches away from the seedlings or plants? It would be good to know. Thanks, Kim. Okay, guys, again, I like to keep things simple. I know there are lots of grow lights out there for you to choose from. There are lots out there that have different levels of Kelvin and lumens. If you're new to grow lights, you really need to go and watch my grow light video. We will be filming a new one in the next couple of weeks, but we just haven't got to it yet. But don't let the fact that you're intimidated or don't know how to set grow lights up concern you. There's some bulbs that are higher output, which means it has a brighter light intensity, that don't have to be, that you can have your plants a little bit further away from your lights. But the general rule of thumb that I like to go by for most grow lights that you and I will have in our house, most simple grow light setups, unless you're like a serious grower, are things like this, are like the shop light setup that I have that I show in a lot of my videos, the little tabletop lights. So the general rule of thumb is to have them about 2 inches away from your plants, like this one is here, so your plants don't get leggy. And then if you're having trouble with a particular light that you have, your plants are getting leggy, then definitely, like Cliff just said, I think that was Cliff that said, experiment with a couple of plants. Sorry about that, Rita. Nothing I could do about the wind today. I'm sorry. We're doing our best here with what we have to work with. So hopefully next week it won't be so windy. So experiment with a couple of plants. If you think that you do have a light with higher output, you can usually figure that out from the back or by asking the manufacturer. I know the gardener's light that I showed in one of the videos, the light is a little bit brighter. It's a higher intensity light, so you can have your plants a little further away. But experiment with it. If your plants start getting leggy, then just raise them up. I like to keep some bricks around the house or some pieces of wood that I can raise my plants up. Keep a lot of shoe boxes around so I can raise my plants up closer to the light. But the general rule of thumb is about 2 inches away from your light. That way your plants don't get leggy and they get the light they need to grow and be healthy. And you know, it's never going to be the same as sunlight, but at least you can grow something indoors when it's too cold to grow outside. So highly encourage you, if you need some seeds, grab the lettuce seed collection, is a great one to grow during the winter, or the herb seed collection over on my website at calliekimgardenandhome.com. And we will be starting the spring garden series. If you're going to get one seed collection, you could start with the spring garden seed collection. This has 12 different varieties. It has lettuce, it has tomatoes, peppers, it has herbs, 12 different varieties, cucumbers that you can start a basic garden with. And then the Bring on the Pollinators, this is the cool weather flower collection, which are great flowers to plant first thing in the spring. So if you don't pick up any other seed collections, I would highly recommend you picking up these two. Be growing with these, especially this one in the spring garden series, and it will really help get you started right away. Okay guys, I'm actually gonna have to jump off. I've got an appointment to run to today. So it was great hanging out with you here, and make sure that you invite a friend to come along with you next week. I always share the link on Instagram and on Facebook, and then you can share that link with them. We would love to have as many people as we can growing together and gardening together this spring. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.